Most people think that sleep starts when you walk into bed. Wrong. It starts the minute you open your eyes in the morning.
Welcome to the Inspired Living with Autoimmunity podcast, the podcast for high achievers who want to stay sharp, focused, and full of energy despite their diagnosis. With your host, National Board Certified Functional Medicine Health Coach, Julie Michelson, where Julie helps you take your power back from autoimmunity. And now here's your host, Julie Michelson.
Welcome back to the Inspired Living with Autoimmunity podcast. I'm your host, Julie Michelson, and today we're joined by Einat Shinar, a nutritionist, mindset, and wellness coach who helps professional women over 40 understand how their food and lifestyle choices affect their health, weight, sleep, and energy so they can confidently thrive during their midlife journey. In today's conversation, we're talking about the role sleep plays in wellness and weight loss, her tips and strategies to optimize sleep, as well as to address those sleep disruptions, which really can play a big role in women's lives. Einat, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thank you so much for having me here. I'm excited.
I am as well. I want to start by just having listeners get to know you a little bit. Tell me a little bit about your journey of how did you decide to become a coach and really, just grab onto this wellness space?
Sure. So I'm actually a teacher. In my first degree was in English teaching. I'm an educator at heart, so I was a teacher for a long, long time. Even had my own after-school program here in Atlanta for many, many years. And I got into coaching through my own experience. When I turned 40, 41, I started feeling like something was off with me. I had suddenly gained almost 40 pounds of weight, which was just part of the problem. I actually couldn't sleep at night. I had night sweats and hot flashes. I was just exhausted all day. And as a teacher, having to go and teach in the afternoons, that was a big a problem for me. And I had to figure out what was going on. And for me, that was the second time gaining weight. The first time was pregnancies. So the first time around, I went to see a clinical dietitian, which was a very traumatic experience for me because I just got a list. Eat this, don't eat that. Here's your meal plan. See you in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And for a person who probably has a pretty low metabolism, that did not work. And eventually I lost the weight that first time when we relocated to the US, and not because of that successful diet. So the second time around, that was after my second pregnancy, tried every diet in the book, you named it, I tried it. And I did lose weight, but I gained double and triple. But I felt horrible. And
Yeah.
then it was just a miracle meeting this woman who was the wife of a colleague that I used to work with at a school. And she brought this system that I could buy online and be supported by that, which seemed very improbable that it would help me. But I was so desperate for some kind of help. And I just said yes, because there was a 30-day money back guarantee. Long story short, it actually helped. I started cleansing my body, which I had never done before. I started eating different kinds of foods and I started losing the weight. And it wasn't about the weight, it was a feeling of rediscovering myself and finding my self confidence again in this.
Yeah.
My husband looked at me 5 days in and he said, I'll have what you're having. I don't know what it is, but it's good. And so I was with that company for a few years, love the products that I'm no longer with them, but it expanded my horizons in the
Yeah.
way that I attended conferences and learned about nutrition. And so while I was running my after school language program, I started learning about nutrition and science. And women started approaching me, how did you do it? Right? I
Yes.
want help.
I
And
want
I
what
just
you
felt,
have.
I want what you have.
Yeah.
And initially I shared the shakes, the program, but I felt very irresponsible coaching them because people call themselves coach when they sell products.
Yep.
And I thought that would be very irresponsible. It might work, but it's not just about the food. And so I went back to school, got my nutrition certification, got my, wellness and health and wellness certification. Then Reiki found me. I became a Reiki master.
Hmm.
And then I heard about EFT tapping. So I went into that and I gradually built my toolkit and started working with women while I was still running my other business. So it all just grew together. And then 3 years ago, I decided to retire from a 27-year-old uh,
Wow.
coaching
Career, teaching
career.
career. Wow. Amazing.
Yeah. And do this full time. Yeah.
Wow. Well, that's what happens as we heal or learn and we just deeper into the rabbit hole, and then it's like, oh, we have to share what we're doing. So
Hmm.
I can only imagine the impact that you make in the women that you're working with. And I know, people hear nutrition, they're like, oh, here we go again, nutrition. But what I really want to talk about is the importance of sleep, and I know it ties into your journey. I have so many different directions and questions about sleep, but I share with us because, and one of the things I really appreciate about you is that it is science driven, right? It's experience, but also then what's the science behind it?
Hmm.
And so often I've had conversations with clients and they think I am a lunatic when I'm like, we really need to optimize your sleep if you want to lose the weight, or if we want to balance hormones, or if you want to reduce inflammation,
Oh, yeah.
all the things, if you want to detox, if you want to. So yeah, sleep is that important. But tell us a little bit about your approach, and what is that connection between sleep and weight loss? Because my audience knows, like, when weight loss, it inflammation is at the bottom of all of this.
Hmm.
And so, I say, when we can reduce the inflammation, the weight falls off, right?
True.
They're not separate. So what is the role that sleep plays, and why is it so important, especially for us women?
Yeah, it's a great question. And when I first started coaching, I thought it was the nutrition stuff and the exercise. And when I got deep into the studies and the research, I found that it was sleep that is the most important pillar. And that's one of the first things I actually work on with my clients. It's not the food. Let's talk about
Right.
how you sleep, right? And so why is it so important? Sleep is not just for relaxation.
Yeah.
It's for it's for repair and restoration and recovery. And when we sleep, we go through several stages, right? There's 4 stages of sleep that we cycle through during the night, and each of them has its own kind of main ingredient, main point, right? So initially we go into the theta phase, which is in the non-REM sleep. It's light sleep, we just fall into sleep. Then we have another non-REM sleep where we fall asleep a little deeper, and that's where we start making memories. And then we fall really deep, and that's when the growth hormone starts to be produced, and then the immune system starts kicking off. And lastly, we dream, and that's where a lot of the cognitive stuff happens. But what most people don't know is when we sleep, we also detoxify not only our body, but
Mhm.
our brain has its own detoxification system. It's called the lymphatic system. And the lymphatic system causes the brain to shrink by about 60%. And that allows for this very unique pressure system to go through and get rid of plaque. If we don't detoxify our body and
Yeah.
our brain, nothing happens. And that's what people don't understand. And it doesn't take these crazy juices and and only
Right.
fasting, but really
Yeah.
making sure we sleep. And the body has its own tools to do the job. Now, the other thing that happens while we sleep, which is really amazing, is our hormones are balanced. And I want to talk about three in specific. So one is called ghrelin. That's the hormone that tells our brain, I'm hungry, I need energy, let's put something in our belly, right? Second one is called leptin. Leptin is the hormone that tells the brain, we're full, we don't need anymore. When we get a really good night's sleep, they're balanced. So we usually wake up with more leptin, which is the satiety hormone, and less
Hmm.
ghrelin. But when we get disrupted sleep and dysregulated sleep, and like you said, especially us women, and I specialize in women in perimenopause and menopause, sleep becomes an issue then. And
Right.
if we don't use the tools, which I hope to share later, then
Yes.
we don't sleep, we don't get that REM sleep, that really deep, high quality sleep. We wake up with more ghrelin. They actually did many, many studies, and I want to share one where they tested people who slept less than 6 hours versus people who slept about 8 hours. And they found when these people woke up, and they tested this for over a few weeks, 6 weeks, I believe, the people who slept less than 6 hours had a leptin drop by 18% and their
Yeah.
ghrelin up 28%.
Yeah.
Now, not only were these people who were sleep deprived hungrier, but guess what they wanted to eat? It was
Carbs.
ham salad. They
I
wanted
love that you brought that up because it is so many people say, when I start to inquire about sleep and they're like, "Oh no, but I don't need that much sleep." While there are a really, really small amount of people who are super sleepers, most people who think they are not. So
I
it
agree.
is amazing the amount of, it's just become this norm in our society, right? Like I wear the hat, I'm busy, or I don't sleep, I don't have time to sleep. Oh, I'll sleep when I'm dead. It's like, well, you might sooner than you think if you, you know.
And you know what? I even see a lot of my clients come in and they drink a lot of coffee, and they, especially when they're in perimenopause and menopause, stress levels are so high because we take up so much. Our kids leave the nest, and then we have to take care of our, aging parents, and there's maybe career changes. And so they indulge in a glass of wine at night, and they're like, but this helps me so much. And I always say, alcohol is a sedative, yes, but what happens once it metabolizes? Then you wake up. Alcohol is a system-wide disruptor, and it will promote inflammation. It will disrupt your immune regulation. It will cause frequent wakes up at night, maybe even heart palpitations, and it impairs melatonin production, which is our
Mhm.
sleep drug. It's our natural
Yeah.
sleep drug. So women might fall asleep really quickly, but when they wake up later at night, that messes up their REM sleep, and that's when all the important things happen. Same for coffee, by the way. If you don't have a coffee curfew, coffee has a half-life of eight
Yes.
hours. So have your
Yeah.
coffee at 5 p.m., you'll be awake half the night. So it's so important to understand we need to balance these hormones. Also, cortisol. If
Yeah.
cortisol is high at night, you'll be waking up very early in the morning, and that will mess up your hormones, which leads to overeating during the day. And women need to understand it's not their fault if they're
Right.
hungry. They just need to prioritize sleep.
Yeah, I love that, and you brought up so many, so many good points. I want to. This leads into. I know you're itching to share some of your tips and hacks with us with sleep, which is like my favorite thing. And people are always surprised. And you mentioned cortisol and the stress and the changes in perimenopause and menopause and I mean we could do 3 hours on each of those things.
Oh, yeah.
um, but people are always surprised when I say we're going to work on sleep, and I believe your sleep routine starts first thing in the morning.
Mhm.
And so let's talk about kind of a little bit about that cortisol pattern, and I'm curious for you to share, your approach with clients regarding sleep.
Yeah, of course. It's one of my favorite topics to talk about. Yeah, so like you just said, most people think that sleep starts when you walk into bed. Wrong. It starts the minute you open your eyes in the morning.
Yeah,
And we now know that um, we have a circadian clock in our body. And
right.
actually, we have a major clock, and then we have a tiny circadian clock in every cell of our body. If they're not synced, then our entire day and night are going to be off. We really want to make sure our wake and sleep cycle is regulated. And the way to do that is when we first wake up in the morning, for most people whose nervous system is regulated, we need to be waking up with high cortisol. That's
Should
what
be
takes it.
ideally.
Yeah, ideally, that's what will take you out of bed because cortisol actually is a good hormone that gives you motivation to start your day.
Yep.
Then it is supposed to gradually decrease and decline during the day and reach the lowest low at night when we're asleep, and then gradually go up at around 5 a.m. For us who are dysregulated, it might look the other way around, and that's what we need to fix. So if you go outside and you expose yourself to the sunlight, you don't have to look directly in the sun, please don't, but stand in the direction of the sun. And then first thing, for 5 to 10 minutes, I take that time to do my lymphatic system drainage exercises, my warm up, my movement, my stretches. So I'm out there anyway, and I sip on my lemon water. So it's not just, oh, now I need to stand. I actually do something for my body at that time. We get that natural sunlight, we get vitamin D, but our brain gets the idea, oh, it's morning. Because most people forget we spend most of our time in artificial lighting. So that's one thing that I do. The second thing, like I mentioned earlier, there's a caffeine curfew. If you drink
Yes.
coffee or any energy drink that are caffeinated, make sure to cap that at 1 p.m. Because if you drink any later than that, you might think it doesn't influence your sleep. But if you really get tested and get hooked up to machines, you will find that you are not getting that
Yeah. Or
deep
even
sleep.
tracking. I mean, I've had an Aura ring since 2016.
Hmm.
And now there's more and more sleep trackers out there that are just looking at your patterns and like, okay, what did I do today? Did I have that glass of wine? Did I have a 4 o'clock cup of coffee?
Hmm.
Because I hear it all the time. Oh, well, caffeine, coffee doesn't keep me up, and it may not keep you awake, but it is disrupting that restorative sleep. And so
Definitely.
tracking is so empowering. And I love that, we don't have to go to a sleep center and because I
No,
can't
we don't.
imagine
Now we can track
sleeping well there.
ourselves.
Yeah, yeah.
True. True.
So
Another
I'm so
thing
glad that you brought that up because that's like the number one argument. Oh, it doesn't keep me up.
doesn't
And I'm
affect
like,
me.
mm.
Yeah.
But it is impacting your sleep.
For sure, for sure. And I would also say making sure you eat enough during the day. A lot of people tend to skip meals and then they get to 8, 9 p.m. starved. And that's when they load up on a heavy meal. That's a mistake. When your body goes into sleep mode, it is not supposed to be digesting. We know that about 70% of our energy goes into digestion. At
Mhm.
night, we need that energy for healing, for memory, for our immune system activation, for so many things that the body needs to do at night, so many actions. If we eat, we're missing out on that opportunity. Plus, if we don't balance blood sugar throughout the day,
Mhm.
our blood sugar might drop midnight, and that's when we wake up
Yes.
because our body is hungry and cortisol is elevated and there's more inflammation. So make sure that you're eating, at a good pace during the day. You're doing protein pacing or eating protein throughout the day, the good carbs throughout the day, so your body is happy and balanced.
I love
Um,
that, especially because I know, you specialize in working with women, and women have a tendency to undereat protein, just in general. And then as we're entering perimenopause and menopause, we really need that protein to make sure we're able to put on muscle. People don't think about protein is a building block. Like if you're not eating the protein, you're not going to put on. And nobody really, it's rare to put on weight because you're eating too much clean protein. Like that's not a problem. So a lot of women are protein averse.
mhm.
So to share a little bit about, I love that protein pacing.
Yeah, so there's a lot of talk about protein. Like you said, it's a building block. Protein pacing means that we want to introduce protein to the body at different times of the day. I like protein preloading, which means you get a lot of protein first thing in the morning. You can even get up to 40 grams in the morning, and then you are so balanced. You're satiated for hours, your blood sugar is balanced, and then you can just drip in a little more protein during lunch and then snack and then at dinner time, so you get to the amount of protein that you need for your own body, and it changes from person to person. But what I really want to emphasize on protein is many people don't know that protein is also in charge of blood sugar balance,
Hmm.
because the bigger muscle mass you have,
Hmm.
the better your muscle will absorb the glucose when you're eating. And so you have all this storage in the form of glucagon for the next workout. So think about men. Why do they lose weight so easily when they skip
I
dinner? They
know.
have bigger muscle mass just from being men. And
Yep.
so we women really need to build up that muscle mass, and we're not going to become bodybuilders, right?
Right.
It's very hard to put on that amount of muscle mass. But muscle is our lifeline. The more
Yes.
muscle mass you have, the healthier you're going to be. And preventing type 2 diabetes is one of the goals of many women because that's a risk that increases with age for everybody.
So, such gold right there. Like if that's the only thing people take away.
Hmm. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah, incredible advice. And it is. I love the so many people in the beginning when I'm like, okay, just kind of walk me through how you eat, what's a typical day. And especially in this country, like people start their day with gross, empty carb. Like it's so fascinating to me how, when you're starting your day and then you're just perpetually like, craving the
Yeah. Frosted
sugar.
flakes with milk.
Oh my gosh, like seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a problem.
It is. But I think people are slowly and gradually becoming more aware of the importance of eating a really healthy, balanced breakfast and having that protein, but also introducing more healthy fats and really
Yes,
good, high quality carbs because our brain, people expect their brain to work all day, but they don't realize that if they don't fuel it right, it has nothing to work on. So
right.
don't skip breakfast because it's probably, I do think that it's one of the most important meals of the day. Whatever time during the morning you eat it, your
Hmm.
it needs the fuel. It needs the fuel to serve you. So don't skip it.
Preach it, sing it.
Yeah,
I love it.
I preach it every day.
I have a good friend who's been um, like just really focused on health and wellness the past few years, and it's really interesting. And I'm not, everybody's different. Like I went through a phase, like intermittent fasting works really well for me. But we are all different and there is no one size fits all. And she had been intermittent fasting for a long time and then she shifted. She was skipping breakfast and
Hmm.
she wanted to keep the intermittent fasting, but she shifted it to the nighttime where, and then she's starting her day with a good breakfast, which is so important anyway, because especially, she was working out in the morning and like she needed that fuel in the morning.
Yes.
And so I love that you brought that up. Like, the breakfast is, if you think about what you want to accomplish in the day, fueling your day is important. And so, and protein forward it does make it easier to get enough protein also if you're starting out with like this really good, serving of protein in the morning. Because then you don't have to
Yeah.
eat like you don't have to eat a ribeye at night. Like you can,
Exactly. Even just make a small shake or even add a little bit of protein powder to your coffee or tea or
yeah,
matcha and just drink it. As long as you're getting something in your body, especially if you're expecting it to heal after a workout or fuel yourself just before a workout, people just don't realize that working on empty, by the way, this is a really important point, especially women. And as we get to perimenopause, we wake up with high cortisol.
yes,
And if you do not feed your body, the body gets into stress mode because, okay, where's my food? Where's my food? I've been fasting for 12 hours. I need something. And so you actually raise insulin levels, which get you to fight or flight mode,
right,
which is not a way to start your day. And
yeah,
so if you introduce food to your body, you're telling it, it's fine, we're safe,
we're
there's food.
safe. Yeah,
And then metabolism will just start working and you'll be burning that fuel because the body doesn't need to hold on to it.
yeah.
Okay, so that's important to understand too.
It is. It's and you mentioned satiety when we were talking about hormones that are released during and balanced during sleep. And I don't know. I've been eating. I was fat deprived. It was part of, I believe, a really important factor in me getting rheumatoid arthritis to begin with. And it became almost like a light switch. Like I had already made all these changes, but when I put really, high quality healthy fats into my diet really intentionally. It was like my brain came back on, all the things. And so I am like, again, after being fat phobic all through the 80s, 90s,
Oh yeah,
you
yeah.
know,
I
it's
remember those days. Yeah,
it's so important. We need it. Like our nervous system is made of fat. Our brain is made of fat.
there you
So
go.
yeah,
And it's the best form of energy for the body. I
yeah.
mean, it's so wonderful. It burns slowly, and you know that 1 gram of fat has more than double the calories of a gram of protein and a
I
carb.
love that you said that because, with your nutrition background, right? There is so much still. It always shocks me. I hear, and it depends on especially age too, but a
Yeah,
lot of the ladies I work with are still like, oh, but that has so many calories. And it's like, okay, but what's in them? Because, yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, 100 calories of an apple is not like a hundred calories of a pretzel. So
right,
the body can actually do something with the apple, and it's got the fiber and the vitamins and the minerals. People tend to forget. Yeah, and they also tend to forget that when you eat fat, the size of a thumb is a serving size. So if you have 7 olives or 2 tablespoons of any oil or 7 pieces of nuts, that's enough. That will satiate the body because it
right.
is digested slowly and gives you energy for the longest time. We don't really need to eat a lot. And when people realize that portion control is super important, you can eat anything.
Right. Yeah. And I love that you said that. I have, especially, you mentioned this blood sugar dysregulation and
Mhm.
disrupting sleep. And it's one of the ways, because a couple different things, and especially, with your clientele, there can be different reasons for wake ups in the middle of the night, that 2, 3 o'clock window.
Oh, yeah.
Um, and one of the things, especially as I'm helping people make diet change, one of the things I'll do to kind of test, like, okay, is it a blood sugar problem, right? Or they just, their blood sugar's crashing, which is really, and then cortisol increases and they wake up. Is it cortisol that's also increasing? It's always chicken or
It's like
egg.
a domino too. Like
It
one
is.
hormone will affect the other. There's
It
always some.
is. But so sometimes, and I am big on, so far we're like speaking the same language. I think that there's a caffeine curfew. I totally agree. I thought I was hardcore. I say 2 o'clock. I think 1 o'clock's even better. I think getting out of the habit of afternoon, if you have an afternoon caffeine habit, why are you losing energy in the afternoon?
Yeah. Yeah.
Eventually the curfew becomes like not even a thing. Um, but I'll have people, if they're having that kind of wake up issue, so caffeine, caffeine curfew, but also that the window of don't eat dinner and then go to sleep, right? Because that's counterproductive to what we need to be doing,
Absolutely.
what our body's trying to do during sleep. But then I will, here's my little codicil to that, is I will have people like try having a little fat right before bedtime to
Mhm.
see if that satiety, if we can balance blood sugar, is that playing a role in those middle of the night wake ups when they become a pattern?
Mhm.
And a lot of times it really does help. And usually it's temporary as the body is adjusting to
Yes.
like, oh my gosh, I've been running on glucose and now I'm going to be running on fat and protein.
Fat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, it's a different system, and our body keeps switching between those. So if it
right.
has fuel from glucose, it will, that's the easy way, right? That's the easy
Yeah.
route. If we don't give it glucose, it has to go the fat route. And I love that idea of giving a little bit of fat to people who do seem to have that glucose issue in the middle of the night and testing it out. I mean, it might work for some, it might not work
It
for
might
others.
not, but then it gives
What
you
a
kind of
great
an
idea.
answer as
Yeah.
to,
Yeah.
and I'm like right with you. I'm like, have a few olives, have a, I have some people are like hardcore. They're like, oh, I do a spoonful of coconut oil. Like that's not my thing. But whatever healthy fat works for you and
Mhm.
is taught, again, it doesn't have to be a lot. It just A
Yeah.
little bit goes a long way.
By the way, a tablespoon of chia seeds in some hot water and just letting it sit and either drinking it or eating it like a little bit of jello because it will
Uh-huh.
become gel-like, that will help you sleep. But that's also a great serving of fat and it will help you go to the restroom the next morning. So, got 3 for 1 if you want to try that.
And you can use it as an egg in your baking. So look at that. It's like
Oh,
magic.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a great egg replacement. Yeah, true, true.
Amazing. So, shifting gears, although I know I promised I wasn't going to keep you all day, um, I do want to touch on like why does sleep become dysregulated as women are marching through, and sometimes they feel like they're dragging through perimenopause and menopause. But like, what is that? It's not
Mhm.
just because they're having hot flashes and that's disrupting sleep. So what is going
True,
on there?
true. So we've got the culprits are the hormones, and as we all know, hormones are chemical messengers in the body. And what happens as we get to perimenopause, they start fluctuating. And people think that, for example, estrogen, which is the female hormone, that it just crashes. It doesn't crashes. It doesn't crash. It actually fluctuates for a long time up and down until it then just disappears. And what happens with estrogen, it has so many roles in the body, but one of them is regulating melatonin and serotonin. And so once that declines, we have less melatonin, less serotonin, which are the calming agents, the calming hormones in the body. And then we have more fragmented sleep. So that alone, just having less estrogen in the body, boom, you're more likely to wake up and have fragmented sleep throughout the night. The second thing is progesterone. Progesterone is called the calming hormone.
Yep.
This is the one that really helps us wind down and relax. And when it declines, and it will decline all at once, as
First.
opposed to
Yeah.
estrogen, and it goes first, we lose that calming benefit of
Yeah.
estrogen. And that's when women become irritable at night. It's when they wake up and they try and solve all the world's problems and find the cures to
Uh-huh.
every disease. And of course, they can fall back asleep. And there's no way to really wind down. It's like you
Yeah.
feel very up and running at night. So that's due
Mhm.
to that. And then there's cortisol. We just talked about
Yeah.
having so many stresses during menopause or perimenopause, not just our changing bodies and putting on weight and not recognizing ourselves in the mirror and having all these new roles of being empty nesters and caregivers, that increases cortisol. And when cortisol increases at night, we will wake up. Our system goes into fight or flight mode and our body is just in distress and it cannot fall asleep unless we have the right techniques to calm it down. And thank goodness we do. And that's one of my favorite things to teach my clients is how do we make that happen midnight and instantly fall back asleep. So that's part of what really goes on at night. And then melatonin, right? If we don't regulate our circadian rhythm
Right.
throughout the day, we
Yeah.
won't get it.
There's so many things that in modern times we need to be really intentional. This whole getting back to nature, and so many people are. I've heard from so many different women too, like, oh well, it's just how it is, and everybody has a different approach. I have a well, having gone through that, I actually had a hysterectomy and my ovaries removed several years
Mm.
ago. So I went from the beginning of perimenopause to obviously,
Post-menopause.
medical menopause overnight. But I was supported all the way through that process with bioidentical hormones, which
Mhm.
for me was completely life changing. Now, there
Yes.
are obviously certain cases where some women are not a good candidate,
Mhm.
and always it's always more than one thing. Like it's not. Hormones are magic and give all of the factors of life, but also if you're not protecting your circadian rhythm and doing all of the lifestyle pieces, it doesn't mean, oh, I'm just going to be a great sleeper because I take progesterone or whatever, fill in the
No,
blank.
not
Um,
necessarily.
yeah. So before I ask you for your one thing, because you said it, and I'm like, ooh, I wonder what her tip is. Do you have, or is it too big of a process, like a simple tip for that middle of the night wake up, especially if we're talking about, it's a hormonal process?
Yes, I do. So my favorite one is called cognitive shuffling, and it comes from the field of psychology. And what it is a technique that takes your brain from a place of ruminating thoughts and to-do lists and worrying to um, there is a shift that happens that takes the brain to that theta phase where it falls asleep. And what it is really um, having the brain think about things that are just um, arbitrary, random, and some imagery. And I'll take you through the exercise. And if I wake up midnight or have a problem falling asleep, like if I watch something on TV, even early in the evening, that just gets my adrenaline going, I
Mm-hmm.
usually don't have any problems falling asleep. I'm a really fast sleeper, but sometimes there's something that's
Yeah.
keeping me awake. I will do that. And I can tell you that my mom did not sleep for 30 years. And when I introduced this technique to her, she said, "You will not believe I'm finally sleeping at night." So I'm excited to share. The way that it works is this: once you wake up and you want to fall asleep, you want to think of a word, just a random word that has no emotional meaning to you. So you could take a word like a dog, and now you want to start breaking it into the letters. So D, O, and G. All you want to do is come up with as many words as you can for each letters. So D, what words do I know that start with the letter D? Okay, drill, down, dog, date, drop, whatever you can think of with that letter D. And do as many as you can until you've exhausted that letter. Then move on to O. Think of as many words as you can that start with O. I promise you, you won't even get to G. It is so amazing the way that it
So
works.
much
Now,
better than counting sheep. I
better
love
than,
it.
and by the way, counting sheep is
Similar.
this, it works on the same mechanism,
Yep.
but this because the words are so
Yeah.
it just makes your brain shift, even though you think, wait, I'm thinking, how is that making me fall asleep? It switches on that part of the brain that creates theta waves, which are the short waves that make you fall asleep in the first phase of in the first stage of sleeping. And it works like magic.
That is so amazing. I cannot wait to share. I will credit you. I love that. And I can see how I've tried counting sheep and I am a champion sleeper. But when I shifted career this past year and opened a functional medicine clinic and all, had to learn so many things and all of a sudden went from solopreneur to having a staff of 10 and just learning. I all of a sudden got busy brained
Mhm.
and so I could see where this is amazing. What an amazing tool and so simple. I love that. Yeah, and you could start with a short word. It doesn't have to be like
Yeah, and
some,
if you're done with the word and it didn't work, go on to the next one. Sometimes we
yeah,
do need it, but when I wake up in the morning, I will remember what letter I got to, and I know it's never the last one. I always fall asleep,
yeah,
so that really works. And that's just one. I have a huge tool of
sure.
nutritional and nutritional tools that work. EFT works amazing. I mean, all these things are just incredible.
Yeah, it's so good. And everything that's the beauty of having a big toolbox because even for each of us sometimes a different tool is the right tool at that
Yes,
time but also not everybody's going to tap and not everybody so just allowing for our
an option.
uniqueness
Yeah,
which I
yeah.
love. Well, you've already given us so many tips. And so you could circle back or you could share another one. But if you had to share one thing that you would want listeners to start doing today to help improve health or sleep or hormones, what would it be?
Wow, the one thing
Huh? I
that's
know, it's so
that's
hard.
hard.
It is.
I would say be aware. I'd say be aware of your action throughout the day, starting the minute you get out of bed with gratitude. Start the day with gratitude. When you wake up with gratitude, you are aware of your body, of your health, of all the good things in your life. And then it makes it easier for you to appreciate your body and do what is needed for you. Because I always tell the women to come work with me, they want change, they want transformation. Transformation will not change if you don't like the version of you now. You need to love and appreciate who you are now and what you have in order to get to that upgrade, the 2.0 upgrade
Yeah.
of yourself. And it starts with awareness of who am I? What do I already have? What tools do I have? What can I do right now? So step out into the sun. Start with that. Hydrate. Give your
Yeah.
body what it needs and listen to your body. Because with awareness comes that inner listening of what is my body trying to tell me? What do I need to do? What do I not need to do?
Yeah.
I think awareness is a big thing.
It's huge. It's spoken like a coach. It's the first, can't create change if you don't even know where you are now. So, so amazing. For people that are listening on the go and aren't going to check the notes, where's the best place to find you?
So I'm on Instagram, and my handle is just at Einat Shinar, and I'm also on Facebook. I actually have a private Facebook group. It's called Feel Good Again, and we can put it in the notes as well. This is a free community for women who are over 40 who just want to feel good again. And I just come on with tips and tricks and recipes and some wisdom for women who are looking for more advice, for more coaching.
And community. It's
Community,
amazing.
yes, of course. There's
Yeah.
a great community there.
Einat, thank you so much. You have given us amazing gold and so many tips. Listeners, like just pick one and you'll start to make big changes.
Of course, of course. And I'm also gifting the listeners an EFT, a pre-recorded EFT session of 10 minutes to help them fall asleep. So that can be linked
Amazing.
to. And so anyone who's interested in just doing this, lying in bed, listening to it, and just tapping your way into sleep, if you've never tried this before, it's a huge tool. And I'm just honored to share it with everybody.
And I highly recommend you all take advantage of it and get that link in the show notes as well. So for everybody listening, thank you so much for joining us. We hope you had a great time and enjoyed this episode as much as I did. And you can get those notes and transcripts by visiting inspiredliving.show. We'll see you next week.
Thank you for listening to Julie Michelson's Inspired Living with Autoimmunity. Did you enjoy this episode? Please like, share, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. If you'd like to get a transcript of this and every other episode, just head on over to inspiredliving.show or click on the link in this episode's description. There, you can also find everything we discussed in this episode, including links and information about our guest. You can even send in your questions to be answered by Julie in a future episode. That's inspiredliving.show. Until next time, this is Julie Michelson's Inspired Living with Autoimmunity podcast, helping you take your power back.